my wardrobe. I wanted to show you this one day. This is my wedding dress, and I've kept that for 24 years this year, and I made that myself, so that'll be for another day. Well, 24 years ago today, I somehow managed to get into this dress. In fact, it was very difficult to put on this model, which is a size 14. I kind of feel that this was probably about a size 10. But it fit perfectly well on our wedding day. I still have the hat. I don't think I've worn that since to any occasions. I bought things that I could wear again. I had a gold shoulder bag and gold sandals, which are no longer with me because I wore them. I did wear them. But the hat, I don't think I've ever worn that again. The dress was made by myself. And I'm just going to show you how I put it together as best as I can on this model. So the skirt is made up of 3 layers. The top layer is a silk chiffon, which is so like gossamer. The second layer is a beautiful silk, which has been embroidered with gold. The third layer was a simple polyester satin with a slight give, which was the underskirt. The satin, as I say, was an Italian satin, which was the one that spoke to me because of the beautiful embroidery on it. And I said, I want that. But I knew that would be quite not in your face. It can't be in white, can it really? But I felt it would be a bit too much. So that's why I decided to buy the Italian chiffon, silk chiffon to go over the top, to mute it. But I felt that you could see the little sparkles just coming through the white chiffon. For the top, the bodice was ruched using the layer of Italian silk chiffon, nicely ruched at the sides so that it had a gentle gathering across the bodice, which was made up of the silk, gold embroidered silk. And then there was another layer underneath which has a boned bodice. One of the reasons why I couldn't get it on the model. This also had an all-in-one chiffon piece. It goes across the whole of the shoulders, down to down the sleeves and into the cuff. And the cuff was made from the Italian silk with a little button. And so it was also trimmed around the neckline with the gold embroidered Italian silk. In fact, I'm just going to turn her around for a better view. although, as I say, it's a very small for this model, as you can see. We'll just bring her over a little bit. As you can see, the silk chiffon was joined just below the zip. The zip came to about here, and it joined with a pearl button and a little loop. I hand sewed all these zips in. So there was this zip in the underdress, and then in the actual petticoat there was another zip. As you can see, you can just about see the boning, the bodice boning there. This is the first time I'd done anything like that. I also have the label, the Vogue American Designer Original, because this was a Vogue pattern and the designer was Oscar de la Renta. Now, Oscar de la Renta had designed a long dress and the short version, which is what I decided to do, mainly because of the cost of the materials. And here is a little bow that would have gone across there. Yeah, so this particular dress didn't take me an awful long time to do, but the hand sewing obviously in the zip work was done very carefully, because you can see the small stitches. I made the whole dress on my grandmother's hand Singer sewing machine. So you turn to the handle like this. So it was made using that machine, which is, you know, the Singer machines, the old Singer machines, I think this was a 1930s machine, probably a little older than that, were big and clunky. But I managed to make a really good job with the silk using this machine. So if you can ever get hold of a Singer sewing machine, I really would, because they are amazing. I won't get rid of mine. Yeah, so that's beautiful, isn't it? I'm very proud of that. I have had many requests for this dress. When young girls say, oh, I'll have that when I get married. It definitely would fit them, but they wouldn't fit me now, I'm telling you. But it's beautiful. I love that. The silk was bought from a shop in London, and I do not remember the name of the shop. I actually sent for it, and I think I found the address in probably a Pins and Needles magazine, an old one, and I think I sent for samples, and of course amongst them were this, and which I thought, well, you know, I fell in love with. So I thought, right, that's the material for the dress for me. And Malky wanted me to keep it as simple as I could, and he probably was worried about what colour I'd turn up in, so you can understand the mentality behind that. So yeah, that is as simple as a Clary can go. I hope you love it like I do. And I've kept that in probably not the best place, but I've kept that in a cupboard in these bags for the past 24 years. And as I say, I've never worn it since. But it's a testament to my abilities at the time. And, you know, it's almost a museum piece. Anyway, I'll show you a picture or two of me wearing it. So it's a little bit warmer in the house today. So I've got my blanket on, put it to one side. I think the temperatures are just increasing a little. It's been very cold though. And I thought that I would do something a little more simple this weekend again, because I've done a bit more on this top. I've done pretty well. I finished the bottom and pulled out a lot of the threads just to give it that lovely look, and it's going to have a bit of a swing to it, that one is. I feel very 60s. This is very 60s. So what I decided to do was I did the sleeve, but I did some increases, a bit like on my yoke increases, and then added the fringing at the bottom. So now I'm on the other side working down that sleeve, but I thought I'm going to give that a bit of a rest because I was doing that Friday, Saturday. I decided Sunday. I'd had enough by Sunday. So I thought I'd give that a bit of a rest, but that's on its way. So yesterday I just had more or less a pajama day yesterday, and I had a nice long bath in the afternoon, and then I came downstairs and had a cup of tea, and I thought, you know, I want to do something a bit more simple, and I wanted to get into some more of this ice yarn I've been using. So I started with some eyelash yarn again, which I've got in the blue. It's lovely turquoisey blue. So this is the back, starting at the shoulders, and I use this angular shoulder seam. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go for it. So I added in some more eyelash yarn, which is more fluffy, this one, with some sparklies in it to go down the front. My aim is to make it into a V-neck. So, and then join it later on when I've got both of these sides done. And then I've got quite a bit of each. That's the one I've got there with the sparklies. Let me just bring that in for you. And then the other one is, like I say, the eyelash yarn. I've got quite a bit of this. I've got 6 of them. And again, 6 of these. So I'm thinking it will probably make quite a long tunic. So I'm going with that idea. How it will turn out, I don't know. We will see. So I thought I'll do that. It's less to be thought about. It's simple, it's quick. I'm using a number 1, I think it is, 7mm needle. Number 1 in the US, am I right? And 7mm in the UK and in the continent. I don't think there's any difference in the continent. So that's my idea, to give that nice sort of angled shoulder line at the back, and then it comes forward to make a V-neck at the front. I like this. This is what I picked up from the November jacket, because the jacket just carries on down the front, like, you know, open. But this, when I get to a certain stage, I'll join together, and I'm hoping it will just engineer a V-neck. That's how I view it. That's how I see it in my mind's eye, but we'll see, eh? Anyway, that's enough for today. I do hope you enjoyed my little look back on my wedding dress. Somebody in the comments did ask for how, you know, how I made my dress, etc. So I hope that helped, and you enjoyed it. And yes, today's our 24th wedding anniversary, but life goes on. Nothing, we're not doing anything, we're not gonna do anything today, but you know, like next year will be our 25th, so that's what you call our silver, isn't it? Silver wedding anniversary. So maybe we'll do something then. It all depends on life, doesn't it? How life goes. So I'll see you again tomorrow, and keep knitting. Hello again, I'm back on my sofa, and I'm just doing a little more knitting on my swing top. That's what I'm going to call it, my swing top. I'm doing some more on the sleeve. I wanted so much to talk to you about the art of knitting, in the sense that the art of knitting is quite often in the shaping. The art of knitting is also not just shaping, but the colours that you use, the textures that you might think of using. This one particularly is textural, colourful, and full of shaping techniques. And they're actually quite simple. It's a bit frightening sometimes, isn't it, when we've looked at a pattern and see the lovely shapes, and you think, well, how does that happen? I'm knitting down the sleeve. As you know, this is my second sleeve. Second sleeves I always get stuck on the second sleeve. I think everybody does, really. It's like a second sock. I don't do a lot of sock knitting, but I do know that I had one sock for a very long time in my knitting bag once, and eventually I did get to knit the second sock. So the shaping on this one, again, is quite simple, and it's quite surprising as well. So initially, as I said, I picked up the stitches along the side of this scarf-like piece. See? I will join these together. How I'm going to do that is another thing. Do I put a little button placket up there so that it has a buttoned collar, which was quite fashionable back in the day? Or, because I did actually knit one in the 70s with a rollover collar and a button placket with a few buttons on it. it was a lovely jumper, that. I wish I'd kept patterns and things and took photos and things then in those days, but I'd only left school and was starting my first job. I didn't think about those things then. I just remember that it was a lovely sort of pine, almost a cypressy green, with lovely puffed sleeves, lace sleeves, and I think the body had a cable in it. But it was this lovely collar with the buttons down it. So do I do a button down collar, or do I do a polo neck collar, which was what I was kind of thinking in the first place. So I've gone off piste again. So anyway, I picked up all the stitches along the edge of this piece that I'd cast on and half made into a scarf, and then decided, oh, it's big enough to go over my head. This could be a collar, that sort of thing. So anyway, I went down, I did my normal round circular neck calculation and split for the sleeves and the body. So after that, it was straight all the way. I didn't increase anything on this at all. Straight all the way. But look, it's got a kind of a swing to it. You see what I mean? And the reason I believe that is because of this. Now, this is just one thread. It's quite thick, even with one thread, but I don't want anything stiff and thick around my neck. It would be uncomfortable. So I used one thread. Let me just get it out of my bag again. Yeah. So when I'm saying one thread, it's very thin. Look at it. Thin. It's on a black thread, and it has little pieces of yarn spun onto it. And like I said, you could do this yourself. If you are interested in spinning, spin some of your hand-dyed yarn at regular intervals onto a piece of mercerized cotton. That's the best way to do, actually, mercerized cotton, because it doesn't unply. That's the word I'm looking for. It doesn't unply. So, when I got to the bottom here, I'd been knitting down in just ordinary double knit black yarn. And as I said, I had recycled that from a few balls of yarn, and it doesn't seem to look as if they are any different from each other. You cannot see because it's black, basically. So when I got to the bottom, I wanted to do a couple of inches in this lovely yarn. It's an ice yarn, and I don't know what they call it. It's recycled, so... And they don't always put things on the labels, I've noticed. Anyway, whatever. I used a thread of that with a thread of my black yarn, and I knitted them both together. So there's my black yarn. There's my other yarn, and I just knitted it as I went along together. I suppose in a way plied it. My sort of ply. It's a bit like having a double knit yarn and then putting alongside a mohair, a silk mohair. It's that sort of idea. So that's what I did, and that's made it a little heavier. So therefore it is now weighted, and because it's weighted, it can swing. If I'd just done it in the pink, it would have, shall we say, been thin like this at the top and very flexible, pliable. It wouldn't have done much to the shaping. And I also did these last rows in garter stitch, because that meant on one side I'd get some threads, and on this side I'd get some threads as well. But I went through with a tapestry needle and pulled a lot of the threads through onto this side, just to give that effect. Now with the sleeve, now the art of shaping in the sleeve, we always know to get a bell sleeve, you don't always need to decrease. But I wanted more of a bell sleeve, see? So it became like that. So I used the same principle as I use for my circular yoke. So a few inches down, I did an increase row. Then another few inches, I did another increase row. And then another increase row to get this bell shape. And I quite like it. I quite like it. You can see where I've done the increases, can't you? Just about. Like I say, it's black. It's not so easy, is it? And then I did the exact same principle for the edging of the sleeve. So that's what I'm going to do with this sleeve. Same thing. I've done my first increase. I'll be coming up soon to do my second increase. But what I would love to know is what do you think? Do I make this a polar neck? Or would you like to see a button band with some black buttons or pink buttons or silver buttons or whatever as a button down collar? I've knitted it in so that that's a possibility. It kind of is in conjunction with the beginning of my circular yoke, which is at the beginning of the sleeve. So that just works right, shape-wise. I'm trying to keep my wording simple, and that's not easy. I sometimes look at the transcription notes at the end of my videos and I look at it and think, oh dear. But I have got a bit of an accent as well, which doesn't help always. Anyway, let me know what you think about the collar. Tomorrow, if you're going to stop by tomorrow, I'm going to work on a theme this week, basically on the art of knitting. But tomorrow there, I want to talk about sideways knitting techniques. And I've started, some time ago I started this. And this is a sideways cardigan. So I'll go into more detail about that tomorrow. So stop by. I will probably need some help in finishing that one too. I'll show you where I got my inspiration from. There's a couple of books that have helped me along the line. And yeah, some of these, as I say, are samples that are going to go in my self-published book coming out next year. Got to do it now because I've said it. Oh, and just before I go, I've done a bit more on the ice dress. That's what I'm calling it, the ice dress. Oh, it's beginning to look a bit frozen, isn't it? I have two colours. I've got this blacky blue one, there, and I've also got this pink one, so I thought I'm going to integrate them. And tomorrow I'll probably ask you the same question: how would you like me to finish it? But we'll get there tomorrow. Do a bit more on it today, and I'll give you an update tomorrow. So I'll see you again, and keep knitting. So I'm just trying out my 60s swinging hem top. Thought I'd put it on the model so that I could get a better view of how it's going to look, and I like it. It's cropped, nice over high-waisted trousers. I like these trousers, these pink ones, these wide-legged ones. So yeah, liking that. I love the sleeve. Obviously I've got sewing in to do. Now the neck, the collar. I asked in the comments yesterday, what would you like to see? And the consensus of opinion was a polo neck. But one comment was, well, why don't you do both? So yes, that can happen. So what I would do is put a button band along here and along here, and then button it up so that it would either hang as a collar there, or we could button it right up and then bring it over like a polo neck. And then obviously when you unbutton it, you get this collar effect, which is very nice. I like it. Yeah, I think that's a good option. So what I'm going to do is knit the button band along here. Is that going to be the button band? I always have to remember which way. Over that way, isn't it? So that is going to be the buttonhole band, and these will have buttons on it. I'm going to have to see what buttons I've got left, I have to be honest. I would love it if I had some nice black ones, or even some silver ones would be good, but might just be pink if I can find some. I will have to see what I've got. I might even go a little wilder and put something different on. We'll see. Yeah. So, let me know in the comments if you like that. Is that something you would like to see in a pattern? This is a sample for my self-published knitting pattern book. Anyway, but I've got some really interesting ideas using different yarns. So what I might do in a pattern is give you the amount of yarn you could use so that you can recycle like I have done, or I could put some budget level yarns, alternatives, or I could put in expensive ones so that you can really make a special garment. so it gives you choice. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. So there you go. So that's today's. Now I'm just going to put her home in the corner. She'll sit there whilst I finish other things. Ice dress. I'm calling it the ice dress because of the turquoisey colours in it. Now I have a lot of this black with the pink and black with the blue. So what I'm intending to do is use up all my turquoise. I think I've got about 2-3 balls left, and just knit to as long as it will go. And then I'm going to leave it sleeveless. The reason being is I'd like to do a little cardigan using these blacks to do a little bolero style cardigan. I've got some ideas on it. Have you got any ideas? Just like to see what you think in the comments. But so far, I think it's looking pretty frosty. I think the bluey colours reminded me of the movie Frozen. So yeah, so this is my ice dress. It's coming along. Now, the next one, I'm rapidly running out of this highlighter yarn. Now I'm sort of knitting, as you can see, I'm knitting upwards, knitting this all on in one piece. I've started with the front, a side front. I cast off for the sleeve opening. Then I've done the back. And now I'm coming to the point where I'm going to cast off for the armhole and do a little bit of fisherman's rib here, and then cast on again for the other front. And as you can see, I've carried on my pattern. I have a lacy pattern here with a wide border. It's going to be an edge-to-edge cardigan so that I can put some clasps across. So it's going to be an edge-to-edge cardigan. It's got a lacy pattern there, a mosaic pattern here. Let me just come in. A little row of holes there, some fisherman's rib here, the same again, and then back to the mosaic, the lace, the fisherman's rib, the lace, mosaic, and back to the row of holes. I really hope I've got some of this highlighter yarn left because I do like it. Now, what was I going to do to join it together? To be able to make the cardigan work, my thoughts were to pick up somewhere here and knit stitches along the shoulder and knit a shape that would be more like a angled tab to join to the back. So what I think I might do is pick up the whole of the back and perhaps shape the back with I don't know whether to use another colour or not, or just carry on in the blue. I'm thinking about that. And then doing the same on the two fronts. And then either doing a joining by sewing or actually knitting it together. I don't know, I'm playing with that at the moment. And then once it's all joined up, I can pick all the stitches up around here and continue in the same direction with my sleeve. Now I've got plenty of the blue left, and if I ran out of the blue it wouldn't matter because I do know I can get that blue. The green colour, I can get that colour. I've got some of that left. I don't think I'll probably use too much of that. But it's the highlighter yellow. I'm really upset about that. I thought I had more of that. I might have to do a bit of searching around. So, I'm working a little bit on that at the moment. A lot of these things that need finishing, I will probably put in my next week's video. Once I've sewn them up and added the little elements I want to do. But I'm now working through the bits that I need to finish. If you pop around tomorrow, then I will show you another garment that I'm working on, and these were the garments that I showed back in one of my episodes, and I'll put episode number up here somewhere, and it was using some very special yarns, and I want to do a little bit more on them, particularly on the lace skirt, because that was made in cashmere and North Ronaldsay yarns mixed together. I've just managed to get some more North Ronaldsay yarn because I thought it was going to run out. So yeah, that is tomorrow's little review of what I'm knitting at the moment and what I need to finish. And thank you very much for your support this week and last week on how you would see me finishing these particular garments. If this is something that you really like yourself and you would think somebody else would enjoy it, then perhaps would you share it with your communities and like it and comment on it. If you've not subscribed already, would you please subscribe? Please. And if you're already subscribed, please don't leave me. Also, I've sort of been trying to look at my search engine optimization, or what they call SEO, because I have had a couple of emails recently offering people's support with my SEO, because they say what I'm doing they like very much, but I'm just not being seen by the majority of people. I have very low views. I'm up against a lot of good knitting podcasters, I've got to say that. And what I'm doing is a little bit different to what a lot of other people are doing. So it helps me if you try to share my videos, like and comment upon them, and subscribe. All these things are very helpful so that I can be seen by more people who might enjoy what I'm doing and find my tips helpful. Eventually, as I say, I want to publish a book of patterns, mainly a couple of shapes. The circular yoke, which I have already constructed, and also making cardigans and tops with a V-neck and maybe a cardigan with a round neck and a slip over with a round neck. So some things like that, that's what I want to do. I have been sort of putting together little ideas, hence the sideways cardigan, which is another kind of pattern I'd like to investigate more that you can do it. Now, there is a gentleman who has written a book on sideways knitting, and I'm just going to put a picture of it here. I noticed that there was one left on Amazon the other day in the UK, don't know about America. So maybe if you could hunt that one down. That inspired me very much, particularly the picture on the front with the sleeve shape. I have yet to do that one, and I think I will do it anyway because it's just so interesting. So sideways knitting is something that I have done recently. I did a little pink jacket for a friend of mine. So I know now how I'd like to approach it, but I've done this in a different way. So I'm going to teach myself a few little things just with this cardigan. Yeah, so that's that one. There's not much for me to say today because I've got quite a few things going on. I've got a new little job to go through today. I've got to set up my computer for it, so this will be fairly short today, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. So see you tomorrow and keep knitting. Last night because I found my little ball of fluorescent yarn. So now I was able to finish the second armhole. So now I have 2 armholes knitted sideways. So I was very pleased about that. I almost did a little dance. So I've immersed myself in my fluorescence today for today's video. As you can see, I have my scarf, which I'm sure you've been looking at, hanging on the back of the wardrobe door with my accessories. And I've also got a hat. I'm going to just bring my head in, which I designed myself. And this whole outfit is in crochet. If you want to see more about this top that I'm wearing, you'll need to go back a bit. We are now on day 9. I'll put a link to it at the end, on the end screen for you. What I'd done was I'd frogged a dress that I'd crocheted a long time ago, and I knew that I would never wear. It didn't fit. I'm never gonna wear it. so I thought I'd frog it. And this is what I've got left, basically, of the dress that I crocheted. So that'll be frogged if I needed it. I also used this book for some inspiration on some of the patterns I'm using. I like this because it teaches you also how to design your own blanket. That's one or two of them. It shows you what you need, how many squares you need, what materials you need, etc., which is very good. It's very useful for square techniques, but also for patterns. I have some of that nice yarn left. I've got some of the coned yarns left. This is a nice sort of a honey cream one. I'd wound up together some more coned yarn I'd got, and this has got merino wool in it, which is another fluorescence. So you can actually get merino wool in the fluorescent colour. That's how much I like it. I have seen them, hand-dyed yarns across the web universe that have fluorescent yarn colours. So they can be found in hand-dyed, commercially dyed, natural yarns. And today we're going to talk about natural yarns because I've given you a whole week, if not more, of acrylic yarns. So I think it's time for those in my audience who enjoy some natural yarns to have a little look at those today and what I'm working on. So what I've just done now is I've got my two yarn hanks that I've made up, or skeins that I have made up. And this is the kind of thickness I'm getting. I'm getting a kind of a double knit thickness there. I wouldn't twist it as I was knitting it, but you could, I suppose. But that's kind of semi-plying it as you go. Yeah, you could do that, but it's quite a challenge to do that whilst you're knitting. Let's have a little go. I've got I've got loads of needles. These are needles people have given me, I've bought, etc., and I've kept it in this old tube. Right, that's a pair of needles I bought from the Isle of Sandy when we were on holiday there. It's 4mm. So I'm just going to see how it works. So I'm just going to cast on about 20. In fact, actually, I like this combination that I might make it up into one of those Sophie scarves, because I've got enough in there to do a Sophie scarf. I'll weigh it and then see how much I've got all together. So I'm not planning as I go along, that's just normally. I don't think I could do that at the same time as knitting, but I'm going to have a little bash. I've not tried it. No, it would be pretty, you could, but you would be you'd be sat here forever. So I'm just going to knit it without plying it as I knit, so that you can see how it will look. Yeah, so I quite like that combination of colour. Now, if you want to know where I got the highlighter merino yarn from, that one there, it's almost like a 1-ply, I think, very, very thin. And I got this from Uppingham Yarns on Cone. And I'll put the link at the end of the video because I can't remember the name of it. And they sell enormous amounts of coned yarn. The other strands in this yarn was a recycled 4-ply. I would call 4-ply, but it's probably a 2-ply in the coned world. And it's superwash yarn for definite. That was a vintage one that I had. And there's another thread in amongst it, which is off a very large cone that I'm still working my way through. And it's made up of cotton and acrylic. And it's a mixture of a white and a very pale blue, but I just like the combination. It's made some very nice colorways. So that's how I've knitted some of my marled garments, just by experimenting with colorways and different yarns. So I said the other day, I think it was yesterday, that I was in the middle of making a skirt using some beautiful cashmere yarn which I bought locally, and I didn't know that we had cashmere goats on the island. So that was very interesting. So I started off knitting on these number 10 needles using a mixture of, and here I go again, I'm blending, I'm marling. I'm using the beautiful, cashmere, which is this one, so soft, gentle. And then I've got a little bit of North Ronaldsay yarn that I'm carrying along with it. That's the North Ronaldsay yarn, and I was thinking, I'm gonna run out of this. I'm gonna run out of this. It's not the same colour. That is the grey, and that is the natural. There's a difference, so we'll see how that works out. That's the ball of wool that I made up to do this skirt, so I'm really hoping that that's going to last. But I have got another hank of the cashmere yarn, hand spun cashmere yarn, cashmere fibre grown on Orkney goats. So there you go. I talked a lot more about this in episode 27. So what I'm doing with this particular item of clothing is doing a Shetland lace pattern called Old Shale. I don't find it easy knitting on these wooden 10mm needles, I've got to say it, and we're doing it in the rounds, so therefore it's not all knit rows now. So I'll do a bit whilst I'm with you. I started this not long after Mum died, so I did start it, and it's one of those patterns that we both liked. Oh, see, it's not easy to knit on these needles. So my idea was to make a skirt. Now, there was 2 ways you can wear this skirt. Either over a pair of leggings or jeans, or create a lining for it. So I decided that I might put in a contrast lining. There's the old shell pattern. Can you see? It looks great when it's on big needles, doesn't it? Look at that. Beautiful. And it's so soft. So, I don't know what colour. I have got plenty of cotton left. So I thought I could probably do, this is just one of them. I've got some cotton left, so I could probably do an underskirt in the cotton. But I think it would have to be a fingering weight. Something like that. That's a fingering weight. So I could do it in a natural yarn. And I have got this one that I got. And this is hand dyed in the Orkney Creative Hub. And it's actually, they dye on the North Ronaldsay wool. So this is grown and spun on the island of North Ronaldsay. See, a yarn from North Ronaldsay. And this one's 90 grams. I've got 2 of those. So I could easily knit that up, I think. I would possibly say I would probably need about 300 grams. This is about 255 meters. 300 grams maybe a little less. We'd have to see. We could make it shorter and leave this edging free from a lining, and that would be quite nice. Or I could knit it up in this one. I don't know how many meters is on this one. Probably the same. It's weightier than this one. I think this one's 100 grams, supposedly, around about that. So I could have a colour underneath, a natural colour, naturally dyed, hand-dyed colour underneath it. Or a brighter colour, we'll have to see. So that's in my thinking. If you've got any ideas, I'm open for that. Isle of Oscary yarn, which I loved very much to knit with. And if you remember, a few weeks ago, I knit the Sophie scarf in one of those, just to go as with my natural yarn projects. So that's that. It's just the short one. It's just as she's knitted it on her pattern for the little one. I like that. It's cute. This is a pack of grade 2 Aran, and they call it about 550 grams worth of grade 2 Aran in different colours. And this is the one. These are all undyed, so they're just the sheet colours. I was going to use this for my Hoppy or Hopi sweater. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but the pattern will have a Nordic colour work in it, so I was going to mix that into one colour so that I could do the colour work on this sweater. So those two really are going with that. When I got this beautiful yarn, this beautiful cashmere yarn, I was at Appy's on the other side of the island, and she had some hand-dyed, hand-spun yarns that she'd done herself. Her name is Pam Farmer, and she'd created these herself. And this one particularly was from a blue-faced Leicester sheep with kid mohair silk in it. So it's 111 grams, and I just loved the colour work on it. And it's very soft. And this was going to be my mum's jumper with the lovely lacy sleeves. That's part of the skirt. And what I'd done was put together all the colours that would, in lilacs, that would go in that top. There's quite a lot of it. If that doesn't do a top, I'll be very much surprised. Yeah, that's mine. Grey. North Ronaldsea grey. So that is a little delving into my natural yarns collection, and I'm working on those slowly but surely. I just want to get rid of some of these old projects that are hanging around, and tomorrow I'm going to show you what I've got 2 more old projects left, and what I'm going to do with those. They're literally from a knitting pattern, or 2 knitting patterns, should we say. And I'll introduce you to one of the designers who I quite like, and the book that I've got from them. I might also show you what are some of the books that I like, because I have a collection on there for reference when I want to think about something. So I hope you enjoyed that today. There's one down here that we've not talked about. And we started this when I was doing my pattern calculations videos. And I actually did a little bit more on it. And it's using the woolly knits cotton I've got them 2 together at the moment. See, knitting with both of them together, it makes a thicker material. And this is where I started with my circular neck, and I put a little bit of glitter in there, see? I applied it with this. That's what I did. I just put it together with 1 strand of the blue cotton and 1 strand of the silvery colour. The colouring at this time of year on this doesn't look good. It looks kind of grey blue, but in the summer, I can tell you, it would look a lot lighter than that. But I've already marked it out. See, look, I've got a pink one there and another pink one there. 2 pink markers, and that's for my sleeve. I've got a pink marker there for the start of the sleeve, and that's the beginning of the row and the end of the sleeve. Yeah, so I'm ready. I'm ready to do literally that. So I could actually work on that for a bit. I'd like to see what that looks like when it's finished, because I'll use some of that silvery yarn around the bottom as well, I think. So I suppose the question I want to ask today is, do I do a lining, what would you like to see as a lining on this skirt? Would you like to see a knitted lining? Or a sewn lining? Could do that. I've got some linen in this colour left. What would you like to see? So I hope you've enjoyed that today, and I'll see you again tomorrow when we will catch up on what I've got left to knit. And I was going to call it, Are We There Yet? Because that's what we all say when we're on a journey, don't we? Are we there yet? So I'll see you again tomorrow. And keep knitting! Sofa. It's going to be a little update today because I've got to go out. I'm dressed up ready. Couple of layers. It's cold, wet, damp, always makes you feel a bit ugh. So I've cozied myself up with one of my polar necks, and on top I've got a crocheted top. If you want to see my crocheted top and how I made it, that's in episode 12. I'll put a link on the card at the end of the end card. That's better, the end card. I said I've got a couple of more projects that I need to finish. I'm actually got into it again. I picked up the bag and decided to do a bit on the neck. I've got the sleeve on hold. I think I'm going to be able to manage to do the sleeves from now on. I've got into the process of sleeves. This is the neck, and I'm not doing as the pattern said, but this is one of these shaped hemmed garments. It's a design by Carol Feller, which I quite enjoy. This is my second top. I've done one in purple, again, episode 12. And this one is a mild version again, because the first one was a mild version. This is a mild version in which I used a lot of vintage yarns that I had, reds and blacks, and introduced an apricot from Colour Mart, which is a cone, a company that sells yarn cones too. I will put a link to that at the end of in the description below. So I've already done one in the purple, but this one is in this red gold. So yeah, and it's textural like that, and at the hem it's a stocking stitch hem with a garter edging. I have shown this book before. Let me just show it you again. This is Carol Feller's book, and it's called Short Row Knits. I got it because of the fact it was short row, and it taught you various elements of short row and gave you a few patterns. That's the picture of the garment. I love this one. It's an oversized sweater. I think she calls it Riyito, R-I-Y-I-T-O. It's got shaped shoulder using short rows. And the hem is obviously using short rows. So yeah, I do like that one. She knitted it in Manos del Uruguay silk blend fino and used 3.75 mil or a size 5 circular needle. Now she says that the 3.75 mil needle, as I would call a number 9, is a US size 5. So I've learned something today. So she used what I would call a number 9 or a 3.75, or I suppose in the continent it would be a 3.5 mil. Yeah, perhaps. There are a lot of nice other patterns in here. There is another one that I would like to do, and I did start trying to do it, but I didn't like the yarn I had. So that's one I would like to do. It's very Celtic in its origins. Yeah. So, just again, the Short Row Knits by Carol Feller. Yeah, so there's that one. I also was in the middle, when I was knitting on the beach in October last year, of making a denim look jacket. It's this one. No, not so straight. I get a little line across my screen to say, that's not straight, that's not straight. But there you go. And you can see the little flaps. Well, I've done a fair bit on it. Let me put these books down on the floor. I've done a fair bit on it. Well, this is my little Harris Tweed knitting bag that I made myself. I'm going to have to make some Harris Tweed knitting bags, aren't I? That would be a good idea. Let me just put that back in there. Did you like the flower? I had to redo this a little bit because it started to come apart, and I used my hot glue gun to sort it out. It just flaps a bit. But you like the flower? That's made out of fake leather, poly leather that I found a scrap of somewhere, and I made it into a flower with the little strands of some cotton which I just made into these little strips, and I liked the fact that they were a bit threadbare. And then I covered a button in that fabric for the middle. Yeah. So it's this one. So what have I done so far? I have to remind myself too. All right, so I've done the sleeve. I've done one sleeve there. Again, this is in a mild colourway that I designed myself using some Scottish, Shetland-like yarns, 4-ply yarns. I actually, again, used my fluorescent yarn in amongst it. So I've got 4 colours there. I've got this lovely aubergine colour, a robin eggs blue colour, the very fine fluorescence and that very fine cotton and acrylic yarn, which just gives this little white fleck to it. I love that. So that's the sleeve. I think I've got plenty of this yarn left as well. I'm working on the other side now, the side front. So you can see the panel in the front there. I've already done one side with the pocket flap. So I'm on the second side now for that. And I've also done the back, which has, oh, now I don't know which side is which now. Ah, it's that side, which has the panel in the middle and a little ridged panel there. It's not easy to see in this light and with these particular mild colours, but it looks lovely in real life. So with all the cones of yarn I had, I made these little, I'm going to call them skeins, S-K-E-I-N-S, skeins. That word is, I hear, used in many pronunciations, but I do believe that it is skein. That's how we should pronounce it. So yeah, I shall roll that up. Now, like I said, that came from the, I think I'll just put the other bits away first. That came from the Rowan magazine. And put them all back in. There you go. And that's another Harris tweed bag that I made. And I lined it with some of my own fabrics that I've designed. This lovely peachy pink one. So put that down there. The Rowan magazine was number 29. Now, what I would say is if you go onto the Rowan website and look on the back copies, I think recently I was looking through one and I do believe there's a similar pattern for that jacket in a more recent magazine, more like a summary one. So have a look. But you can get back copies. Now, I promised a couple of books that I would probably recommend for research purposes. I have had this one for such a long time because they are an encyclopedia of knitting and crochet stitches. I have used some of them, but there are so many. I really need to put my head down and have a look at what ones I can do. Now, for instance, this one has lace patterns in it, and you can see the old shale. But there are a lot of other ones that you could use. I quite like the one at the bottom. Let me just show you. That one there, for instance, with its kind of geometric shapes. So, yeah. It's one you could play around with. There is even a mosaic section, or what they call slip stitch colour patterns. It's one that you can play around with to design yokes or just even edgings or just a full-on lace or textured garment. The other one, which I really haven't done a lot of reading in, but I got because I thought it would be of help to me, and that is the Circular Knitting Workshop. Essential techniques to master knitting in the round. All knitting levels, converting flat patterns to circular, and then bags, hats, shawls, socks, mittens, gloves and sweaters. So it's a technical book. It's not a pattern book as such. Although they do have a circular yoke sweater for a child and showing how to make it. So yeah, that one needs some studying when I come to write up my patterns for my circular knitting yokes. So yeah, that's it for today. Have we got there? Are we there yet? Well, we still got a lot of work to do. I'm actually now sewing up one of my projects for a friend. I just played around with a bit of the yarn from yesterday and the Sophie scarf again. But this time, I know that quite often people say that they get... they forget where they are when it comes to increases, and I know I did that. So I used to use, one way I used was using one of these little stitch markers every time I did an increase on that row. But this time I decided to yarn over so that I have a hole, and then I can see exactly where I've been. So I thought I'd try that out. What do you think of the colours? I like that together. Anyway, yeah, so where are we up to? We still got loads to do. I've got loads to finish. Whether I'll get them finished before the end of the year is another thing, because I've got a little job now, and that is going to take up some of my time. We'll just see. Anyhow, I've enjoyed giving you an insight into all my techniques and my projects that I've got to finish. I expect we all have those. I'm not a monogamous knitter. I could never be a monogamous knitter. So, Sunday night, all being well, I'm not promising, I will put all day 6 to day 10 onto a start to finish video and publish it Sunday night for you. Next Friday, I'm hoping to just give you a catch up on how far I've got. And on the 29th, all being well, I'll try and give you a video on all the things I've knitted this year. So, thanks for watching. Please like, please comment as much as you like. Please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please stay with me. I love having you round. And see you in 2024. But keep knitting.